Today I'll be working on a 2014 Chevrolet Express G3500. This does have the 6.6 liter Duramax diesel in it. The truth. I'm going to be fixing the AC controls. So right now all I get is air coming out of the vents. And at the floor, actually, it's vents and floors, but none of the other options are working. All this is driven by vacuum lines, so that's the first thing you want to look at. You can start by checking out these lines underneath the passenger side footwell. All mine are good, but you could always check that. That might be the source of your problem. Another area is over here on the passenger side. You got this little vacuum line that runs right here. It goes down. It splits off into a T as it goes farther down. I'll show you more in just a minute. But it hooks to a vacuum pump that's located on the underside of the battery tray. Now, I know mine had come disconnected from there, so I'm going to be removing this cross brace, the battery, and the battery tray to get to it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this cross beam right here. It's a 1/2 inch socket. Once that is off, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and disconnect the battery. Both of the leads, I'm just going to move them out of the way for now. Now after you get the battery cables taken off, there is a block right here with a 1/2 inch bolt running through it, and you need to take that off. That's what holds your battery down in place. Once you have this little guy removed, you should be able to take the battery all the way out of the vehicle. Now mine does look a bit different. Since the last video clip, I took the hose and washed it out. There was a bunch of like debris and stuff in here, so I just kind of rinsed everything out. But next, I'm going to take out these 4 bolts. There's 1, 2, 3. The fourth one, I can point to it right there. You can sort of see it right where the tip of my finger's at. And that's what holds the battery tray down itself. They're all 10 millimeter. Now you also need to remove this little wire clip right here off the battery tray. You can either unclip it right back on this side, or you can just kind of pop the little crimp thing off right here. I'm just going to try and get the little crimp off. Now for these 3, they're very easy to take out. For this one down here, it was quite a pain. Best solution I found was using a 1/4 inch drive ratchet with the 10 millimeter socket and just kind of get in there and take it out. It was still very tough because there's not a whole lot of room to work down in there, but it seems to be the best way I found. Alright, next, moving this battery tray up and around to try and get to the bottom of it, because that's where our vacuum pump is at. You can see mine came off right there, and that's where I need to hook it back up at. I might be replacing the lines. I'm going to inspect them, see if they're all broken and cracked. If they are, I will be replacing them. So I also noticed the line that came off of here, it also runs right over here, and it's all connected to this kind of vacuum line that goes up underneath the dash into the firewall, comes down, it's right here. Mine is pretty bad, so I'm going to get a replacement here in just a minute, and it won't be just a second for you, but you'll see the new hose on here. I'm going to connect both ends of the hose right there at that little T-junction. I did end up buying about 3 feet of this hose. I only used about 2 feet of it, but I'd rather have too much than not enough, and then have to go back to the auto parts store and buy more. But 3 feet was plenty, and I only spent about $5 on 3 feet of this hose, so it's not terribly expensive fix. Alright, so I got the new vacuum hose from the auto parts store. I just measured up the old pieces of hose and cut them and then put them back on the T here. Next, I'm going to be putting them back in place. It out. There's out. Get the one going here, the long one going here, and the original one of the short ends that goes right here. I'm going to be plugging that one in last. What I'll do is I'm going to plug in this one and this one first and let it dangle down near here while I get the battery tray in place, and then once it's back in place, then I'll be plugging this one back in. Now I wasn't quite happy with the tightness, so what I did is I put little zip ties on the end of these. I tried to put a like a band clamp on there, but I couldn't get it to cinch down tight enough because these hoses are so small. So zip ties work pretty well and they hold it on there. I did both of these. The T-junction, they're actually holding pretty well, so I'm not worried about that. But for where it connects to the ball here in this vacuum pump, I went and go ahead and connected both of those. I'm going to go ahead and maneuver the battery tray back into place. Just be careful wiggling it down in there. And once you get the tray back in there, just make sure you're not pinching your vacuum lines you just installed. I tucked mine down kind of behind this battery cable here, and I went ahead and hooked it back up to the exhausting vacuum line right here. I did throw a zip tie on this one too. You can kind of see right where my finger's at. Maybe if I do this again, I'll grab the next size down on hose. This size does work. It fits, it's just a little loose for my liking, so that's why I put the zip ties on. But again, make sure you're not pinching anything, because when I set the tray down, it was pinching like right about here. So I just kind of had to maneuver it up out of the way, and now it's running down here. Then you're gonna go ahead and bolt up your battery tray. The 4 bolts again, the 1, 2, 3, and the hard one to get to, number 4 down there. Now, don't forget to plug back in this guy. If you did unplug it, like I said, just plug it back in. If you unclipped it like me, make sure you just clip it back to the battery tray. This is what gives power to the vacuum pump down below that we were just messing with. Now I'm going to be putting the battery back in place, and then we'll be hooking up the leads to it in just a second. Alright, after you got the 2 leads hooked up, I'm going to reinstall this little guy to hold the battery back down. It screws into that little gold bracket right there. Just like that. And again, it's a half inch, or 13 millimeter. Tighten that guy back down, and it just holds the battery in place. And before we install this guy back on here, I want to test it out just to make sure it's working properly. I hate to put it on and then have to take it back off if we miss something. Now it's always good to test, make sure that it's blowing out the proper way again. And it sure is, it's blowing out right up here. Alright, now that we know what works, we can go ahead and put this guy back on. Just gonna bolt up right here. The bar's actually gonna go underneath, but I just left the bolt in it. And the other one bolts in right down here. After that, you'll be done. Well, I hope this video helps you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. I know those vacuum lines rotting underneath the hood there is a pretty common issue, and so is the vacuum lines down here as well. It's kind of hard to see them right now. I showed them at the beginning of the video. Those also come disconnected and everything as well.